Hey everyone. Yesterday we completed a workshop in our Teach Like a Veteran training session. And one of the topics that we covered during that time was using some technology in your lesson plans. And I shared a list of several tech tools. One of those was Kahoot. And so what I want to do is kind of give you a walkthrough of how to use Kahoot in the classroom. And so I'm going to switch over and share my screen with you. And so what I've already done is gone through and created an account on Kahoot. And so you can do that pretty quickly. That part's pretty self-explanatory. And so I'm not gonna spend some time on that. They do have three different types of accounts for educators. They've got their free account, which is what I'm using. They also have a two different paid accounts. And so the two different paid accounts, one of those is their pro account, and the other one is just their second level account. Each one of those, you get added features as a part of that. I think the first one is like $1 a month, and the other one is like $3 a month. So not a significant expense. And if this is something that you're really going to utilize quite a bit and need those extra features, then I would go ahead and look into upgrading. But for what we're doing here, the free account covers everything that we would need to do. So for those that don't know, Kahoot is a Jeopardy-like quiz setup that you can create pretty easily. It gives you some templates for doing that, and you can use that to review your students either in real time, where they each pull out a device and use that to access and answer the questions, or you can send those questions to them as part of an assignment or a review activity they could do at home, and so it would allow them to access that later. So you've got a couple of different options there. All right, so what we're going to do is go through and create a new Kahoot, and so it gives you a couple of options here. And so the first one is just your standard quiz. Pretty straightforward on that. The second option that they give you when you're creating a new Kahoot is what they call a jumble. And so they give you items that are out of order, and you have to place those, drag and drop those into the correct order. So that's not one that you would typically do in large groups. That might be one that you would set up for centers. And so this would work really well, I think, even for lower grades on that one. And then the other is a survey. And so gathering your audience's opinions, and you could use that as part of a presentation tool as well. So, all right, so we're just going to do a standard quiz. All right, so this is over, this is going to be a science review. So this will be 5th grade science review. And reviewing states of matter. I can already see that I need to fix this, so I'll make that change there. So reviewing states of matter, I'm going to, right now I only have one location, so if I want to add folders or do anything like that, or have a team space or something, then that's where the paid account would come in. So keep that in mind as you're going through this. The visibility part, you've got two options there. It can be visible to everyone, or it can be visible just to you. So there's your explanation for that. Only you is that you have control over everything. Who can find it, who can play it, who can duplicate it, all of that is controlled by you. If you choose everyone, that makes it available to the public. So anyone that's got a Kahoot account can get in there, and if they want to, they can make a copy of it and make changes to it, do whatever they want there. All right, so you have two options here. The image library allows you to search, and then you also can just upload your own image. So I want to go through the search part of it and see what it pulls up if I just put states of matter. And so you can see it really isn't pulling up what I want it to do. So what I'm going to do instead is just search for water and see what it does. Okay, and I may do water cycle and see if it does anything different, because that gets close to what I'm looking for. Yeah, those will work. So let me go back to water, and I'll just pick one of those. All right, so I like this one. Oh no. So you can see that this one is not one that's available for free. And so my indicator there is the little lock on those. So there's another reason that if you want to get access to all of them in their library that they have, then you do need to upgrade to that paid subscription. So unfortunately, that one's not going to work for us. But if I scroll down through here, I can have it show more, and hopefully we can see one that will work. And first two screens, it's not doing that. So, all right, well, let's try something else. Let's just do school and see what it does. And you can see it pulls up several there as well. All of those are locked. And so unless you're wanting to pay, it may take you a little bit longer to try to find your images. So keep that in mind as well. This is when it would be good to have your images already on your machine that you're wanting to use. And you can also, just so that you know before we get there, you can add images to the questions as well. All right, so still not seeing one that's not locked. So I'm going to skip out on adding the image at this time. So you could also just drag and drop images from your computer to it or upload them. All right, so we're skipping out on that part. Any of your resources that you're using in this, give credit to this here. And truthfully, you probably want to cite these if you're going to make this public. If you're going to keep it private, I wouldn't worry about it as much, but once it's public, you need to put on there where you're getting your resources from. If they're ready-made questions that you're getting from a book or something, make sure that you cite those in there. And then also, if you want to include an intro video, any public URL for YouTube, you can throw in here as well and have that as part of your intro screen or instructions that go along with your students, even if it's just you recording something and putting that on there for your students to see before they start the quiz. I think that would be a good thing to do on that. All right, so I don't want this available to everyone because this is just a practice one. I only want me to be able to see it and access it and change it. And I'm going to hit go. You see it's got my title, didn't put an image. As my description tells me who can see it. If I want to change any of that, I can change that there in the edit. You can add a question manually. So you go in, you type in the question, you type in your answers, choose your correct one, and tell it to save. The other option here is to import from a spreadsheet. They give you a template that you can use. And that template, you just plug your questions and answers in the order and put them in each of those fields. And then you turn around, save that, upload it, and it'll throw it straight into here. And that's something that you can do ahead of time and have your questions all ready to go. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through this process. And so my first question is, which is an example of condensation? So I want my timer on this. My first answer is going to be liquid changing to a solid. Gas changing to a solid. Gas changing to a liquid. And liquid changing to a gas. And so for condensation, my correct answer is going to be gas changing to a liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that as my correct answer. Resources that I would include with that, I would go ahead and put there. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And you can see that it's ready for me to add another question. At this point, if I'm done, I can hit save, or if I'm just at a stopping point, I can hit save. So I'm going to do that. And then it gives me the option to preview it. And so it shows the phone over here because that's one way for students to join in. You have two options here for the gameplay for this type that we picked. So we can do the classic, we can do the team mode. You can also add a few other features, do a name generator, have it from a podium, or you can have it randomize the questions or the answers. So if you're planning on using this over and over again, or want to start your session and you've used this before but don't want them to remember the order that you had it in, so you can do that. Some security features, you can set it to automatically go through the questions or force students to rejoin after every question, which that one, if you're using that as a review, I would avoid that option. But so we're going to do the classic mode. I'm ready for people to be able to join. So if you notice, there was an app that they could use on their phone for that. So here's the code we have to put in. I'm going to type that in over here. So 457-810. And I'm going to hit enter. So now I give a nickname. All right. So you can see that it's joined here. Also, somebody puts in a name that's inappropriate, all you've got to do is click on it and it kicks them out of the game. So it forces them to try to sign back in and do it correctly. All right, so everybody's in. We're going to hit start. My only question is ready. And so once it pops up, watch, which is an example of condensation, then I get a few options. And so I'm going to pick that one. You can see I got 871 points. If I answer quickly, I get more points. If I answer correctly, but I'm not first, I don't get as many points. And so as time goes on, you get fewer and fewer points for it. So next it pulls up and shows the current rankings. All right, and you can see all of that. And then at the end, it gives students an opportunity on their device to rate this Kahoot. So we could also provide feedback, do all of that. I'm going to save the results, download it if I want to, or save it to my Google Drive. That way I can come back and review it later and see if there's anything we need to go back over with our students. So a good way to review everything with our students. All right, so once I switch over, I'm going back to this one. If I saw anything I needed to fix, I could go back in and edit it at this point. I could go straight in and play it if we're ready to, or I could share it. But at this point, I'm done with it. So I'm going to click I'm done. It's going to take me back to my home screen, and it shows me all the ones that I've created already. You can see this is the one I just did. It had one question. I did one previously. It had two questions in it. This is where adding the image would help, because it helps you distinguish between the two without having to go back through and read each name. So that's a quick run through of how to create a quiz in Kahoot. And the other types of quizzes, I think, are some that you would want to investigate depending on your grade level of students. You may want to explore that and see if that's a good option for you. So I hope this is something that you found beneficial, and I'll share a few other options later in some other videos. So